I love swimming and rock climbing in the old quarry on the outside of town. But what kept me coming back to Birdsboro, that is a very tiny segment of it, was the armor cast. Since its designation as a brownfield site, there has been increased pressure to redevelop the compound. Every day, industrial scrappers tear down and drag out more and more of the armor cast, one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. I think everyone has a place like that from their childhood. I just happened to find mine when I was 18, and I'm watching it being razed to the ground in Birdsboro.
Oh, I love it here. I think it's beautiful. A lovely town, friendly, and I love this bakery. Yeah, I like it very, very much. I just liked it when I first came here. My daughter was 10 and she went to Garden Spot and everything. She loved it.
Same here.
There we go. Now she's a little 30, 32, so she's up there, you know, but it's a nice place. She enjoyed it, loved it, but anyway, it's good place.
Silent, empty, dead. The moment I caught word of Centralia, I was hooked. An old mining town where nobody lived, it smoked from the ground, and for over 50 years a fire was burning underneath it. I had to go. Sidewalks led to streets with no names, buildings were abandoned, weeds and trees had reclaimed the empty lots where houses once stood. It was clear that nature was in the process of erasing the town to just a memory. And that's exactly how the state of Pennsylvania wants to keep it.
I was born right up the street, lived here, I don't know how long. So it's been 16 years since I moved back into the area. But I grew up here in the 50s and 60s. I went to high school locally until through the 70s, and then I lived various places. It's beautiful. My family also lives here. My folks built their own home behind Spruce Run Reservoir. There's still a few of us around that have been here for a long time, and that's nice too.
In East Falls, I walked the river trail next to the Schuylkill River late one night. If it weren't for the towering highway passes stretching over me, I might have imagined I had left the city behind completely. Nature has fared better for itself in East Falls compared to the rest of Philadelphia. And as far as the city is concerned, East Falls is one of the smallest and oldest settlements the city has.
George Washington, an early visitor, would establish here for national defense a major arms manufacturing site. It also brought the radical abolitionist John Brown, a very interesting person, very controversial, who would, at the final stages of his attempt to end the country of the evils of slavery, would attack the town hoping to seize these stored weapons, put them in the hands of the 500,000 Virginia slaves, and start a revolution. The war, which will inevitably follow within less than 2 years, will destroy the town. When it's over, the town has been down to about 100 residents. Today it's about 300, down from 3,000.
Someone else came up and said, but this town nurtures you. This town encourages you to be whatever it is you are, whether it's a photographer or an artist or a musician. That's what I'm quoting. It does. The town nurtures you. It supports, I mean, it's silly, but I walk into a convenience store in Avenel and people look at me funny. I walk into a convenience store here and everybody just greets you.
Landenberg, it's kind of out there. Like, all my friends are like, oh, you live out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, how long have you worked at the Landenberg store?
Probably about a month and a half now. It's kind of like a 200-year-old Wawa, is what I call it. So, you know, we have guys that come in like every morning for coffee, and, you know, we're like, oh, hey, like, you know each other, so.
Do you know anything about the Landenberg Hotel?
No one goes in there. I've never heard anything really. I heard it was like really nice, like back in the day or whatever, so.
Lititz was founded by members of the Moravian Church in 1756. For a long time, only members of the church were permitted to own houses in that town. This ended in 1855, and since then, things have changed dramatically. Today, Lititz has become a thriving and hospitable town. It's a dollhouse town, complete with white picket fences, flower boxes, and a candy shop. The friendliness of almost any small town is always notable, and Lititz is no different.
Little Britain, PA is a small town in southern Lancaster County. It consists of a length of road about a mile long in between two stop signs. Founded in 1738 as a farming community by Scottish and Irish immigrants, it was originally named Elm. Today, Little Britain is still mostly farmland. Little Britain is a quiet place where most people keep to themselves, but it's still very nice.
To my surprise, I found that a cousin of mine, Thomas W. Imburgia, was currently a councilman of Marcus Hook Borough. I had always known my father's family hailed from Marcus Hook, but I never knew that some Imburgias still resided in the town. I was full of enthusiasm. Not only was this an opportunity to speak with the councilman of the town, but it was an opportunity for me to learn more about my own blood. You know, I've had to live with and learn from my father and grandfather my entire life, and the similarities between them and the citizens of Marcus Hook were incredible.
Millersville is a small town within Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The town is most famous for its college, Millersville University. I spent most of my day there around the university's park and pond. Many locals were walking around with their families and feeding all the birds. In the pond were at least 3 dozen ducks, geese, and Millersville's 2 swans. Their names are Miller and Seville. The other point of my trip was to hunt down the 4 original streets of Millersville when it was founded 250 years ago: George Street, Frederick Street, Duke Street, and Blue Rock Road. My trip was a success.
I've always been eager to learn more about my father, so getting to spend time with him, going around Ole and hanging out at the Ole Fair like I've been doing almost my whole life was really great. And, you know, I got to see his childhood home and experience the fair like I never really did before. So the experience I took away from it is something I'll hold on to for the rest of my life.
I searched restaurants, no results found. I searched cafes, no results found. I searched shops, 1 result, the General Port Store. I set my destination for the shop and finally had some luck. The store stood by itself with a post office attached to it. I walked in and spoke to the owner, Mickey Cavalier, who had owned the store with her husband for 31 years. I asked Mickey where I could find another store in the area. She chuckled and simply responded, "This is it." I laughed in disbelief, and she repeated herself, "No, really, this is it. This is the only store in town."
I ended up in Schuylkill Haven by mistake, but it really was a happy mistake. As soon as I started walking around, I realized it really was any town, USA. It has a quaint main street, which along it we found the downtown tavern. And there we met the bartender, John T. Morrison Jr., who told us so much. He told us about Mayor Gary Hess, who really is just a regular guy who owns a local catering business. Later we got to walk around the narrow streets and look up at the mountainous hills around the town. We just felt at home and comfortable. Schuylkill Haven really is just a beautiful, forgotten little town.
The only thing that makes the village of Shawmont a part of Philadelphia is its position right on the city side of the Montgomery County line. Shawmont lies mainly along one small road between the banks of the Schuylkill and the R6 regional rail tracks. Along these tracks is the dilapidated train station, America's oldest standing train station. Shawmont is able to maintain its seclusion because its main road dead ends at the county line. Few outsiders pass through Shawmont except on the Schuylkill River Recreational Trail. Today, despite its isolation and the potential for flooding, Shawmont's residents treasure their neighborhood for the freedom and pleasure they get from the same waters.